Hey there, it is Tommy on the behalf of IP Guitars, and welcome to pretty much a throwback format. This is how I got my start on YouTube, making build videos of guitars and putting commentary on top. So hey, it felt appropriate to kind of give this a new go. So this time around we're going to be looking at how I built up the Thinline Daedalus. How this guitar came to be is actually a pretty interesting story, and we'll get into more of the specifics as this video goes on. But to give you a little bit of background as to how this came to be, I do a lot of my larger processes at a rental workshop called Vuokraverstas. Now, there was somebody who had ages ago been there and had abandoned a bunch of things, woods, guitar hardware, stuff like this for years and years. And when we were cleaning up the workshop, the owner kind of looked at me and was like, hey, you can probably make something out of this, right? I was like, yeah, sure. And I looked at all the parts and they were Telecaster parts, very vintagey, and there was two Sapele tops. And immediately I was like, I want to make a Thinline Telecaster type instrument. So I went ahead and got started on this Daedalus version. Pretty much something very different to what I'm used to. Kind of, in a way, very similar to the Celeste 2.0. If you haven't checked that out, go and check that video out as well. But essentially, building a very vintage style guitar is not something that I do quite a lot of. And a semi-hollow guitar is something I've wanted to do again ever since I made the first Celeste. So I wanted to make this a little bit more of an improvement on the previous Daedalus semi-hollow, at least when it comes down to the construction method. As mentioned, this has a Sapele top and a Sapele back. The middle layer here that you can see me gluing up, that is Okume or African mahogany with some thin veneers of completely blacked out oak. Then cutting out the F-hole. Now this was something that I wanted to kind of do differently. I didn't want to have just a normal run-of-the-mill F-hole. I wanted to have my own kind of original shape to it. So once again, as with anything where I'm trying to kind of figure out a design and I'm kind of unsure, I was bouncing this off of my fiance. And I was like, can you please help me out, figure something out? And she drew a couple of small things, guided me into what became this final version, which kind of has a nice sort of feather or leaf look to it. And I really liked how it turned out, so I'm very happy with the design. A lot of the times I'll turn to my fiance for design stuff. She's designed the new logo as well, so you have her to thank for that. The fret wire as well, that's very funny because I, at some point, ordered the wrong fret wire, which ended up being this kind of vintage style, kind of smaller fret wire, thinner, or less wide, I should say, than the medium jumbo that I'm used to. And turned out to be the perfect thing exactly for this build. The front dots, those are ebony, and the side dots, they are aluminum tube with carbon fiber inside. Flame birch, fretboard, ebony binding, 3-piece walnut neck. Those were things that I had myself. The body is something that I got scavenged up from the abandoned things. And the flame birch fretboard is something that I kind of saved when we were going through my grandparents' storage when they have passed. And there was this old, dingy, really gross looking board. And I was like, I have a good feeling about this one. So I'm gonna take that to the workshop, clean it up. And it turned out to be beautiful, beautiful flame birch. So I'm glad to have used it in this build as well. Fret ends getting nicely turned over, looking nice, feeling smooth. Fret crowning. What I usually do with fretboards as well, I would get that nice played in feel, so the fretboard edges are a bit more rounded over in this, just for the sake of going more for the sort of vintage feel, as I've mentioned so many times already in this video. I think I should put a counter on how many times I said vintage. It's probably a lot at this point. String through body. So the only two blocks in this otherwise hollow body are where the neck pickup is sitting and where the bridge sits. Otherwise, it is completely hollow. So fairly lightweight, to say the least. Okume itself is lightweight wood, so that didn't add anything. And I haven't actually weighed this, but I probably should, just to, I'll probably put a little text here telling you how much this thing weighs. Gluing in the neck. So once again, a set neck construction, which is something that I'm always a fan of, and most of my instruments are. Another fun thing about this is that it's a little less wide than what my necks usually are. So it's a 42 mil nut, and then at the end of the fretboard, I think it's 54 mil or 55 mil. So it's a bit narrower. Using Tru-Oil, once again, for all the finishing, just to bring a nice pop out of that wood. Felt like it would be the best solution. I didn't feel like doing any sort of like clear coats, nitro, or anything like that. I love using oils and I haven't used them enough, and Tru-Oil just looks amazing on mahogany and sapele. So yeah, it was definitely the right call. And as you can see, I am also oiling the fretboard just because it makes perfect sense to me. You would clear coat a maple fretboard, so why not put Tru-Oil onto a birch fretboard? I didn't count how many layers I put on. Essentially, I keep on putting on stuff up until it looks right to me and it feels smooth and nice and has a nice sheen to it. So I think I succeeded very well. Now, all the hardware that you're gonna see here, this is all salvage stuff, which was abandoned by someone. And vintage wiring, which is not something I usually do, not something I'm a fan of, but suited this guitar more than well. A nice ashtray telly bridge here. I think it would have been more, I guess, age appropriate, or what's it called? Time appropriate, if it were like the three big hunks of brass, but this works just well. String through body, as you saw, the ferrules put in place as well. Just a fairly bog standard Telecaster wiring, so master volume, master tone, and a three-way switch. I did clean things up a little bit more. I think I just mushed those down into the cavity just to get everything tested there. Now, the one thing that didn't make it was the original bone nut. It was a bit too narrow for the slots that I had cut into the fretboard, so I ended up going for a carbon fiber nut. And funnily enough, this piece of carbon fiber that I'm working on here to make the nut out of is actually a leftover piece from the carbon fiber reinforcement that I put into the 8-string neck. And yeah, I haven't used carbon fiber in a very long time. These are something that we used to do a lot at Crimson Guitars, and yeah, it works very well. Much better than any kind of plastic nut that you would put on. Then the thing that kills and cramps my hand, polishing frets. So going through all the abrasives before that, going through a couple of grits of sandpaper, and then using chrome polish to get a mirror shine. Back again with a kind of newly refurbished aluminum logo for the headstock. I have the little insert here as well, the little inlay to match the top of the body, so that they kind of speak the same language with the headstock and the body itself. I've started doing that more on all my models nowadays, and it's probably something that I will continue doing moving forward. Using XT Diodario strings. Hadn't used these before, and I look forward to how they wear. But hey, as I set this up, we are approaching the end where we get to hear some final tones out of this. Thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this sort of revamped format of doing commentary for a build video. Be sure to check out the website for this guitar if it's still available, and anything else that I have in stock right now. I will update it as builds finish up, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.